Hello, GenRight Nation. Thanks everybody for joining me. This is Tech Talk with Tony B. It is September 13th, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. I appreciate that. If you're watching, stay tuned. You're going to have a chance to win a $250 K&N gift certificate. So that's coming up. Let's see. Tech Talk is something we do live every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on both Facebook and YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe so you get the notifications anytime that we go live or post something, so you can keep up on all things GenRight. We'd appreciate that. And then, of course, like and share this with your other Jeep friends as well, so that they can take advantage of all the stuff we're talking about on Tech Talk. As always, you guys can, and gals, can ask questions by typing in a comment. Make sure you include as much information as you can about the vehicle and everything that you're asking about, so I can try and best answer the question. Remember, this show is really about all of my experience, and I'm trying to advise you guys or teach you how to do it right the first time. So some of the things that I share are only from my experience and the parts or things that I've done. So hopefully that helps you out. Of course, you can do whatever you want, but that's what we're here to talk about, and I can kind of show you the pros and cons on that stuff. So, all right. Our feature product for today's show is our fuel pump access panel. So you cut a hole in the floor and you install this plate, and it's very heavy duty. It's 3/16 thick. It's got these nice rolled edges so that you can access the fuel pump on your tank without dropping the tank down. This is very, very handy. If you've ever had to drop your tank down to get to your fuel pump, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These notches here line up with the grooves or the ribs in your cargo area floor. So this lays flat, and then there's a nice cover plate that goes on there with a few bolts, and you've got yourself a pretty slick setup and easy to get to your fuel pump. So, all right.
Want to see who says hi?
Who's that?
Want to know who's watching?
Sure.
All right. Rick Harrington is watching.
Big Rick.
Jim Snyder. Esther Parrott Newcomb.
Nice.
Stacy Pichetta. Rick Harrington says, what's going on? GenRight team coming to you from Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, and I'm going to see Rick and Jimmy tomorrow.
Cool. Tammy and Steve Bird are watching from Michigan.
Nice.
Ed Gladden Jr. says, let the wheeling begin.
Yeah.
Laura Coda.
Nice.
From Michigan. David Mork. Oh, Ginger is watching. Hi, Ginger.
Nice.
Rodney McGraw. Deborah Carnell from Chandler.
Nice.
Todd Shepard says, can't wait to see it on the trail. Nick Repanich says, hi.
Big Nick.
VB Tom, hello, GenRight Nation. Love them YJs.
All
Scott
right.
Williams is watching. Rick Harrington says, the weather's looking good for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Tahoe.
All right. Sounds good.
Rodney's watching from Australia. And then we got some YouTubers from Indiana. Keith Crum. Rick Turner says, hey, Rick, from Arkansas.
Very nice.
Craig Huffman says, hi, guys. Richard Jedlowski says, hi, Tony and the GenRight team, looking ahead to Thursday.
Yes.
Tim Gash, hello from Santa Barbara. Yep.
Big Tim.
Lots of people watching.
All right. Yeah. So tonight's show is actually about the Rubicon and how we're going to take my Budget YJ build. We finally are getting a chance to get this up to the Rubicon. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this Jeep, this is a YJ that I picked up. It's a 1989 with, like 130,000 miles on it, that I picked up for $3,000. And then I put $7,000 worth of parts in it to make it capable of doing the Rubicon. So we did chromoly axles, we did lockers, we re-geared it, we did 35-inch tires, brand new wheels, R1 brakes. It already had some BDS springs on it. It already had a couple of things that were already here So fuel injection, somebody had already installed the fuel injection. So when I picked it up, there was a few things I didn't even have to touch. But I did put Bilstein 5100 shocks on it. I did put JE Reel CV drive shafts. And of course, our bumpers, rockers, a worn winch. One of our gas tanks, the factory one, was cracked. And this little baby passes smog. It is just a clean little runner. And I want to show everybody how you don't have to have a super expensive rig. You can pick something up like this, put the money in the right places, and even you can go run the Rubicon, the iconic Rubicon Trail, which is where we're headed tomorrow. So many of those people that were just chiming in that Jennings had mentioned their names will all be joining me up on the Rubicon tomorrow. So yeah, this is exciting. I've been waiting to do this for a while. And then after we come back from the Rubicon, I'm going to show you guys what the next steps are on how to trick this thing out to make it even better. Unfortunately, all of the next steps are really quite expensive. So what I'll do is I'll kind of show you what the options are and the pros and cons. And then, of course, if you're in the same situation, you can make the judgment for yourself. So
Our favorite question, any word on the 42s?
So I did hear that they had one more thing to get through, some kind of a certification or test to pass, and then they'll be available. So I'm like you guys, I'm waiting momentarily. So don't worry, I'm giving them the full court press that we want those things. So they hear us loud and clear.
We've got a question.
Sure.
Let's see. Hold on, I'm going to scroll up for it. Oh, Scott Williams, 2014 JKUR, full flex rear bottoms out before front does. Front 13-inch coilovers. How do I adjust the rear?
So it was the front bottoms out before the rear, or the rear bottoms out before the front?
The rear bottoms out before the front does.
Okay, so that has to do, here's my coilover. That has to do with the secondary nuts. So can they see this pretty good right here? Okay, so on a coilover, you have your preload. This preload adjusts the ride height of the vehicle. That's it. Okay, these little guys, and depending on whether you have a Fox or a King, are going to look slightly different. You want to roll these down until they're just above the slider or even touching the slider. So what it does is it determines the top spring rate versus the bottom. So Scott, you want to kick in the bottom spring rate sooner, and then that'll take care of your issue there. And if you still persist, then give me a little bit more information. We've got a sheet over on our website if you go on the very top row under company, there's a Tech Talk tab. Open that up, and inside there's a sheet. In fact, there are several sheets that all of you should be downloading. They're PDFs, so you're not going to get any viruses or anything. There's one on shocks, and what it does is it gives you the ability to note all of your settings and spring rates. If you send that to me, just email it over or send it by messenger. I can look at it and then help you even more. But this is where I'd start based on the question and where I'd start tonight, and see if that works.
He says, I have the middle rings 3/4 inches above the mid.
Okay, so go ahead and lower them down so they're touching. So that they're touching. And that'll make a difference. You can even add a little bit. You can push it down a little bit, and that'll help. Now, if that solves the problem, then what I want you to do is add 50 pounds to one of the springs. So let me know how that goes, and then I can help you on the next step.
Okay, and then we have another question.
Sure.
Aaron Howard says 2016 JKU Rubicon 4-inch lift, 37 by 17, wanting bead locks. What back spacing do I need to go with? So
if you've got the stock with axles, you're probably going to be stuck with like a 3.5-inch backspace. And stay with a narrow wheel. Don't get talked into a 10-inch wide wheel. You want like an 8.5 or a 9 at the very most.
Factory Dana 44s.
Yeah. So those are not very wide. So what'll happen is if you pull the wheels in like I like to, when you go to turn, it'll be rubbing on the control arms and everything. So you've got to offset those a little bit and that'll allow you to at least get the full range of turning. It's not ideal for scrub radius. It's not ideal for your wheel bearings and stuff. That's why we go with wider axles. But for now, this is a really inexpensive fix to get you on those 37s.
Okay, yep. Justin Andrew has a question for Uncle Tony.
Sure.
2000 TJ, 106-inch wheelbase on Legend suspension, Curry 60s. What is the ideal tire size for this wheelbase? How do I best identify tire size for best performance?
Okay, so 100-inch is what I would consider to be right where you're hitting the magic tire height to length ratio for a 37. Okay, so if you're over that, what do you say is 106?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can go to a 40, no problem. Yeah, I think Jeff's like 107, and Jeff's on 40s. So you're right there.
Scott says, I'm not just Scott Williams, I'm the Scott Williams that let Jennings beat me at go-karts. That's not true. You didn't let me. I beat you fair and square. The second lap. Let's see. Another.
It's okay. She beat me too.
Yep, I did. Another different Mickey Thompson tire question. How about Baja Boss ATs in a 40?
Not yet. That is a size that I've let them know market wants. I'd actually like some as well. And I don't know if I told you guys, but I just put the ATs on my truck, a brand new set, and man, it reminds me of how much I love those tires. So yeah, that's a great tire choice if the majority of your miles are on the road, for sure.
Broken Oak Creek says, I bought the 4-inch hood front tube flares for my CJ, and when installing the OEM hood latches, there's not enough surface to screw them on and vertical plane to the hood hold. Did I do something wrong?
No, that's quite common, the way that all that works. And I would have you call in tomorrow and talk to Keith Lyon. He's our resident CJ guy, and he can give you some pictures and show you how he did his, and I'm sure that'll help you a lot.
Okay, and can you walk through the half-door mount for the Scosche mirror?
Oh, sure. Do I have a half door in here right now? Let me take a quick look. And I just rolled aftershock outside, but basically the way it works, I got nothing to. There's a little puck. And that puck, can you, from where you're at, can you see this door?
Well, we can move.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this off here. Doesn't want to go. No, that doesn't want to go either. Okay. That's fine. So what you want to do is there's a flat surface right here. And this is on our door, right? You want to drill a hole and put the puck in a spot where the mirror can swing in over this angle. I know it's kind of hard to see with this mirror here, but the mirror's round, so you want to be able to swing in. Oh, well, actually, we kind of have it right here on Terremoto. You just stay where you can see. Yeah, if you kind of go over to that corner, and I'll squeeze past here. There we go. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. Now, mine is mounted to the A-pillar on the cage, but if you want to mount it to the half door, you got to mount it in a way when this mirror swings in that it goes over the top of this angle right here. And that's going to work really good, but it means that you have to drill a hole really close to where this bend is, okay? And I would drill it in the middle of the flat that's here, but toward the bend. And basically just make it so that little puck that we give you will rest right there, and then the mirror will fold in nice, and that's going to be a sharp way to go for sure. Okay. What other questions you got?
Let's see.
Otherwise, I can start going through some Rubicon stuff.
Tom Nagley's here, late to the party with work. Okay, Mario Roman, 03 TJ Rubicon, stock axles, 4-inch Curry suspension lift, and 35s. 15 by 8, 19 offset wheels. If I run your aluminum flat fenders, will I be able to drop down to a 3-inch coil spring?
You would. And if you want even more clearance, we offer the high fender. So
someone asked why you don't have those on here yet.
No, okay, so that's not part of the low budget build, right? So remember, everybody, this was get a Jeep as cheap as I could, and because you can pick if you find them out there, these things still run. They're sitting in people's driveways or on their side yard. You can get them for $3, $4, $5 all the time. And you just got to put the money in the right spot on a YJ, right? So YJ is a lot more simple. It's leaf spring. They do have a 2-piece front axle. So you want to get rid of that and go, Yukon sells a kit that makes it 1-piece chromoly with bigger U-joints. Really nice. And there's Tech Talks where I installed all these parts, so you guys can go back and watch those. But the point behind this is that for right around 10 grand, you can build a Jeep that'll go run the Rubicon. And I know that is absolutely on everybody's bucket list that I've ever talked to, that they'd like to do that. Now, I will tell you what the next steps are going to be: tube fenders, roll cage, corner guards. I'm going to do some other things, but those are also pretty spendy steps. I'm going to do the ram assist steering. I've already got some of these parts set aside, so I'll show you guys what those next things are. But yeah, we offer a standard fender that would be this height, but it's the tube is here. So your typical flare is like 3-4 inches thick. So just by putting on our tube fender, you've just gained 3 or 4 inches easy. Then we offer a high fender, which is 3 inches higher than this. So it goes 3 inches up and 3 inches back. So you get way more opening, and that's a great choice. It's probably our most popular anymore. If anybody's still got an older Jeep, they're doing high fenders. Everybody wants that low slung Jeep now. So.
Do you offer the windshield armor for a CJ?
The windshield armor for CJ, not yet. So that happens to also be the same as the YJ, and we designed it a while ago. I believe the prototypes are here, and I'm just trying to get through my list of stuff to get it. As everybody knows, I just came back from being gone for 60 days straight, 2 months. And I'm playing catch up, but now I got to leave tomorrow morning to go take this thing to the Rubicon so we can get you guys some footage of this thing running and let you see that even a simple rig like this can get you right through the Rubicon. So it's going to be fun.
Okay, got a question from DJ.
Sure.
Custom Dynatrax XD60 front and 80 rear, 74.5 inches wide with 40 spline, inner and outer, both front and rear. 300M axle shafts. Was wondering if you recommend RCVs. How about 6-piston Wildwood big brake kit? Both have been recommended to me, but seem to be $8,000 of overkill.
Yeah. So I would not do that right from the start, right? I would just hold on the RCVs, hold on the bigger brakes, try what you have right now, and if you feel like you need something more, unless you just have a money burning a hole in your pocket, and you want bragging rights for mentioning those other brand names, what you have is going to do you just fine.
Jim Snyder, are you leaving the soft top on for the Rubicon?
I am.
Josh says hi. Mike Stewart says hi. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Tom Nagley says he has pictures of the mirror mounts.
Yeah, they should be on the website.
Jamie asked, will the TJ to LJ kit work for a YJ?
It will, as a matter of fact. And not only will the TJ to LJ kit work on the YJ, the TJ Tracer kit will also work on the YJ. We've just been talking to some of my guys over the last couple of days. They're building Jeeps here, some of my employees. And they were telling me that they've been able to do a lot of this stuff. Now, here's the trick. Can you see me? Are you zooming in? This section right here. we don't have the body piece made, so it's no big deal. You just go on Quadratech, and for $99, you can buy this whole quarter panel, and you just cut out the piece that you need, and you put that in. So if you're jonesing to do it before we release it, that's all you got to do.
Okay, Mike Stewart says 2017 Rubicon, putting the Curry HD60 in. Thoughts on tie rod, and should I drill the knuckles or upgrade them too?
Okay, the only thing I didn't hear was width on those axles. Width makes a big difference. Here's why. If it's a standard width, then there's a whole bunch of companies that make stuff, I'm gonna use that term loosely, that will fit that axle. If it is not a standard width, then I recommend that you order my chromoly steering with FK Heims, and that'll be the last time you mess around with that. Yes, you will have to drill out the taper for a 3/4 inch bolt. It's no big deal, and then yeah, you'll never have steering issues again.
Any idea when the JL windshield armor will be ready?
That's probably Christmas time would be my guess.
Jim Smith, are you running on 15-inch wheels, or did you switch to 17s on the YJ?
No. So when it comes to a 35, I don't like the way a 17 looks on a 35. I like a 15 on the 35. So I like a certain amount of tire sidewall, and because I want the tire to wrinkle and be able to absorb rocks. When you go to a 17, it's fine on a 37, but not on a 35.
Okay. Yep. Craig Huffman says, giving a shout out to Keith Lyon, he hooked me up with the Tracer skid mounts and the LS engine mounts. My build is officially underway.
Nice. Awesome.
Rick Turner, when is Tuxedo going to get to shine out on the trails?
That's a good question. I'll make a note of that and see if I can get that. He always goes to HDR, and I think he's been to Trail Hero, which, by the way, is our next event. But yeah, right now I'm very focused on getting this through the Rubicon. So
Scott Williams said, "Can you tell Jeff Garland to hurry up and send me my LX3? I'm impatient."
If I talk to Jeff, I'll definitely mention that.
Don Cars, 2004 TJ, now Tracer LJ, having issues with the exhaust. Passenger side transmission case tab is in the way. Driver, the dipstick is in the way. Kevco oil pan, maximum 4180 transmission. The headers you recommend. Any suggestions on fitting the exhaust in?
Yeah, you don't have to run the dipstick in the oil pan. You can still run it in the factory location. Kevco just does that, not knowing what block you have, but you can still run that in the factory location for sure. I've even omitted the dipstick, and then what I do is I've got a little Allen bolt that it's kind of, it reminds me of the old motorcycle days, right? What you do is you would fill the oil until the oil comes out the check hole, and then you just put the plug back in and you're good to go. So we've even done that on builds that are super tight and there's just no room for stuff.
Mark Donnelly says hi.
Hey Mark, how are you?
Hey Mark.
So a lot of you will remember Mark was just here helping me put the cam and everything on Terremoto. So
Alan Alvarez says, I just purchased a YJ and I'm excited.
Nice. See?
Miss you, Alan.
And I think he picked it up cheap. So they're out there, guys. They are out there.
Okay, DJ asks you, think the industry will ever love us diesel folks? Relocating DEF tank and wondering if the GenRight gas tank will be okay with diesel. 2021 JLUR diesel.
It will be fine. Because we make it out of a marine grade aluminum, it is fine for gasoline, diesel, water, like whatever you want to put in there, no problem, for sure. And you reuse your factory fuel pump, so super easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are
doing
caught
pretty
up
good
for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So looks like I flipped the slide inadvertently. Let's
go over there.
So let's go back over there. All right. In fact, here's a perfect picture of a TJ with our high fenders. This one's called a Zero Flare or a Boulder series. It's the tightest fitting, and then the 4-inch, is just built off that. So, but you can see that it follows this line on the TJ or LJ. So the high fender really opens up that fender well. Okay, so the Rubicon, this picture happens to be in one of my favorite spots called the Little Sluice. And we're just approaching the big obstacle right here. And this is a great trail. The Little Sluice is not very far in on the Rubicon Trail. It's very near Spider Lake, which used to be a popular camping spot, but they've closed that off, and they want people to go in further into Buck Island, which would be the next possible camping spot. So great trail. It's high altitude. A lot of the time, in fact, that's why we couldn't do our trip earlier, because it was all snowed in. So yeah, very, very nice. This is one of the first areas that you come to after you get through the gatekeeper. You come out of the trees onto what they call the granite slabs. And this is big. It's not super obvious where to go. If you look closely, you can see another Jeep right here, and then you proceed all the way up. The whole trail, there's several spots that it is a little bit challenging to navigate. So if it's your first time going to run the Rubicon, I actually recommend that you do it with Jeep Jamboree USA or Jeepers Jamboree. They've got spotters along the trail. They feed you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's about as easy as you can go, and there's a number of people, so if you have any trouble, there's going to be somebody right there, and you certainly won't get lost because it's easy enough to follow along. So I did want to make that recommendation.
Mark Lawrence wants to know if you're going to run the Little Sluice and the Soup Bowl with the YJ.
No, I don't know about that. When I get there, I'll check it out, and we'll see. So
Bob Becker, off topic, do you prefer the Terremoto intake over the Growler intake?
I do. So now remember, what I have on the Terremoto is actually meant for my big, 700 horsepower engine. Because it flows better. The throttle body's huge, and it flows better than the single throttle body that's usually like 90 or 100 millimeter on the front of the plastic manifold. So yeah, it is my preference for the type of engine I build. But the plastic manifold is fine up to about 600 horsepower, I would say. So, and you go to like a 102, fast intake on there, which I think is what Jamie has, and that's a great choice. So, okay, so getting through here, I've seen rolled over vehicles. And actually, let me back up. So there's something about the Rubicon that I don't care who you are, how well built your Jeep is, how confident of a driver you are, you need to check it all at the gatekeeper, because I've seen this trail take out the most well-prepared rigs, and I'm talking about big stuff like breaking the steering box off, or the sector shaft off, or the knuckle off. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten to this area here and had to like leave the vehicle there, run ahead, take the part off somebody else's Jeep, come back, install the part, get that guy up, to the next guy, just keep, leapfrogging, changing parts, knuckles, steering boxes, welding on stuff. This trail will eat your lunch. I'm telling you, you have to be on your game. Typically you're loaded up with a lot of camping stuff, right? So you're heavier than normal than you would be just out wheeling for the weekend. So it's one of those things where you really got to be paying attention. There is a lot to look at. There's lakes all over the place and stuff. It's beautiful out there. But you really got to pay attention. Even little stuff like, when you stop and then you go to take off again, there'll be a rock that's sticking up, and it's just the one that tags your tie rod, and mangles it or breaks it, and now you're stuck. You're walking. So there's a lot to do out here, and a lot of steep downhills with an abrupt bottom, that you don't want to be on the brakes, where you're just loading everything. So you definitely need to pace yourself for the level of build you have. And I can't emphasize that enough. And if you don't, you'll be a victim. There's no doubt about it.
Sam Walker says, yes on preparedness and respect for the con.
Yeah. Good to see you on there, Sam.
DJ asks, is there a particular welder you recommend for the trail?
Yes. In fact, I'm charging mine right here. Mine is the Carnage welder. Right here. So that's a great portable MIG. It's got the flux core wire, and that whole thing is self-contained. You just carry it along the trail and weld up whoever you want. So that's a great unit. I think it's about $900. So if you belong to a club, sometimes what will happen is the whole club will pitch in, and you get 9 guys to put $100 in, and then you can get a unit like that. So pretty nice. What else you got?
Bob Becker just said, thanks so much about the intake info. I was leaning that way, doing a growler style build with LS3, buying the intake next. Wonderful.
Yeah. So my style is definitely more aggressive and leaning toward the higher horsepower, the flatter manifold. You can either leave the stock one and go up to like a 90 millimeter throttle body, or go to the fast 102, which is a really nice choice too.
Okay, we're caught up.
Okay, so this is the iconic bridge right before you get to Rubicon Springs, and many years ago you used to actually go, this is a very deep water crossing, you used to go through here. Too many people were flooding their Jeeps, so they built the bridge, and when you see this bridge, you can take a deep breath because you are within walking distance of being there. So good stuff. You can see this guy's got his margarita machine on the roll cage there, and he's all loaded up with his tent and everything. So yeah, everybody, it's definitely a great trail. A lot of people will take what we're going to do in one day, they'll take 3 days to do. So you might as well, you came all that way, you might as well enjoy it. Here's another section. This is just past or coming up to Buck Island, where you come through, and there's a big lake and dam right here that you go over. So really, really cool spot, and a popular camping spot as well.
John Miller asks, what Jeeps amaze you the most on the Rubicon? CJs?
I don't know. I mean, I've driven.
You see a Willys every now and then?
Yeah, you do. You see those guys in there. I mean, I've seen Super Tricks, Samurais. I've seen like crazy amount of stuff in there. And I've driven my race car through there. I drove our bow tie TJ through there. So just to give you an idea, during Jeepers Jamboree, everybody tries to get into Rubicon Springs in like 8 to 10 hours. And our bow tie TJ, without even trying, fully loaded with all the camping gear, I just bopped along and I was in there in 3 hours. So it just kind of depends. And I don't really stop and mess around much. I like to just get in and set up camp and enjoy being all the way back there because once you get to Rubicon Springs, you're on this nice river, and the sound of the river rushing and stuff, it's quite peaceful. So that's always my destination.
Sam Walker says that property line just before the bridge is really tore up right now.
Oh boy, that's not good.
Rick Harrington said the trail between Rubicon Springs and Dirty Dozen is very technical, short stretch before Cadillac Hill.
That's good to know.
Okay, Julio Chavez asked, what parts would I need to buy to do a budget 6-inch stretch on my TJ? Also looking to triangulate the rear. Running the RE 4-link long arm in the rear and a Ford 8.8 with a full truss.
Okay. So right here, it's not the whole thing, but what's sitting next to me, can you see that pretty good? Mm-hmm. This is our TJ to LJ frame stretch kit. And this will include some shock towers and other stuff. With this kit, you can do our triangulated 4-link or double triangulated 4-link. So that's a nice option to have. Obviously, a lot of the magic is right here in this bracket and how it attaches to the frame, where it attaches to the frame. We made sure there's clearance for everything at full articulation, plus the ability to run a sway bar, rear sway bar if you want to. And then in this kit also includes a rear bumper. So there's a lot of nice things about the kit, not to mention the interior kit, right? So, but the big catch for most people isn't the frame, it's the interior. And we've got that really nice all aluminum with the built-in fuel pump access plate, aluminum cargo area. So that's a great option. So, yep. What else you got?
How much can I stretch my 2017 JK?
Not much. I'm assuming this is a 4-door, two-door?
It doesn't say, just, well, JKR. Maybe not, maybe a 2-door.
Maybe a 2-door. Most of the time, the 2 doors, a pretty standard stretch for that would be a 5-inch. I've seen people do more, but once you start stretching those, you're cutting through a bunch of layers that you're about to open up in the back, and you got to be a pretty handy welder to put all that back together. So, or know somebody that can put it together for you.
Jeff Holland says, going to 42-inch tires, did you stay with 70-inch WMS front axle? Did you find any interference issues?
No, I found them just fine. So there's a couple of things that I know there's some people out there that keep saying, go wider, go wider. You guys got to remember the trails were beaten in by vehicles that were like 82 to 83 inches wide. And I'm talking about bubble to bubble, right? So, you start going wider and wider and wider. So remember, we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about axle width, right? But by the time you put the tires and wheels on, you end up, some of these guys are getting 89, 92 wide. That's way too freaking wide. You're beating the crap out of the sidewalls on the trail, or you're making the trail wider. You're having to go up over stuff that wasn't even part of the trail. And I want to caution people about going too wide. I ran the 42s on both Terremoto and Aftershock as is with 70-inch wide axles with the same 4 3/4 backspace wheels I've always ran great, made it through everything like non-issue. So thanks for asking, because I did want to remind people of that. I see them going wider and wider, and it's not necessary. I mean, you guys haven't seen the video yet, but I'm going like 80 across the desert, just carving the turns, it's not like it gets too tippy and you need more stability. There's no issue whatsoever. So.
Toyu Out says, I think you should use the YJ on the Real Hammers experience this year.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. I know Jordan actually talked about wanting to run it in the Real Hammers experience, but no, this is my Jeep. Jordan can run his own.
Bob Becker asked, do you find an advantage laying down the steering box on a YJ for long travel?
So once you start moving the steering box, there's a lot of advantages to moving the steering box, but that is out of the realm for 99% of the people. Because you really start changing stuff, and you need to be able to cycle everything. You also need to be able to put back together the steering column. That is everything I have designed since the beginning of GenRight was not moving the steering box for that reason. That is a giant undertaking. So I try and avoid that. But there are advantages to it. but you got to be on your A game to get everything back together. So.
Kevin Cavallo said, set up my LJ with the DIY Legend brackets and ran the Rubicon 2 weeks ago for the test run.
Nice.
Blown away with how well it worked. Great geometry with that setup.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
Josh asks, are you doing Old Sluice?
Don't know yet. Well, everything about the Rubicon, I just take it as we go. So we'll see.
Kelly Sim says, hey Tony, is there an optional hill climb off the main trail that is very difficult? No one makes it, but if you do, there's money in a jar at the top?
Oh. Okay, so what Kelly's talking about is over on private property, and there is a Bounty Hill over there, and I almost made it up in Terremoto the last time we were there, but in the process, I ended up ripping a tire on some, broken off tree that was sticking out, and I couldn't get up it with 3 tires. So I vowed to come back and get my revenge. So this time in the YJ is not that time, but yes, next time I have Terremoto there, I'm gonna nail that for sure.
Aaron Howard asked, do you make the power steering pulley for the 2016 JKU Rubicon?
Yeah, that's our pulley that'll fit on there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Caught up. Okay.
So back to the Rubicon, and I don't know if you guys heard me earlier. If you go to our website under, if you look at the website page on this side, it says company. Hit the drop down on that. You'll see Tech Talk, Open Tech Talk, and then there'll be a whole bunch of scroll down. You'll see a whole bunch of forms you can fill out. One of them is a checklist for everything you should be bringing for your vehicle. So I wanted to talk about the different stuff that I'm bringing for this. I was just gonna, we always bring a huge group of people. That's a lot of fun. And this is Rubicon Springs during Jeepers Jamboree. So it's really nice. This is an outdoor bar. The food is all served over there. All these people are actually in line to go get food and stuff. And they have a dance floor right here. So it's a beautiful place.
Is the Bounty Hill in the loop?
In this?
Is
No.
it in the loop?
Not in this, no. It's Bounty Hill is over on Tim Green's property, which is just off of the slabs, and you can only go on Tim's property by invite. If he finds you over there, he will not be happy. Here's Peter Doolin coming through one of the rock sections. This will give you an idea. Here's 40-inch tires, and
Maximus.
That those rocks don't look small, and the trail is covered in these kind of rocks. They're everywhere. So who's behind him? That looks like Corey Kaiser behind him in a stretched LJ. Brian Maxwell in his TJ. That's like a 102-inch wheelbase TJ. So, yep, good stuff.
Can a stock JL make it through the Rubicon on 35s?
So if
we're gonna find out.
If you want to take JL through on 35s, you're going to need to have a lot of patience, a good spotter, and a co-dog that's willing to throw a lot of rocks.
I found one.
And you better be used to the sound of depreciation because you're going to hear it a lot.
Nope.
So.
Nope, that's not a thing. That's not happening on my
And hopefully
Jeep.
You're taking a Rubicon that has all the skid plates because you're going to use every single one of them. So. So if you don't know this, Jeep, goes to the Rubicon with a whole bunch of their customers from around the world, and they'll take like 30 Jeeps through at a time, and they're Rubicons, right? Just like basically stock Rubicons. They do some rock stacking and stuff to make sure people can get through, but they beat the living daylights out of those things. So, you definitely, like for me, I'm really gonna have to slow down and take it easy on this thing. I was just wheeling Big Bear, the last 2 days where I'm just like breezing through stuff, and I know if I drive my little budget build here like that, then I'm just going to end up with pieces. So you got to drive with respect to your vehicle for sure. Yeah. What else you got?
Let's see. Is Kelly Sims doing this year's GenRight Hammers experience?
I don't know. I hope he is.
DJ asks, how do you prepare your JLU aftershock to get a flat? I'm not running a spare, but we'll be running the Rubicon next year. And want to be prepared. I'm running 42-inch Nitto trail grapplers on trail-ready beadlocks, 5.5-inch back spacing. I have plugs, etc., but not sure it's enough being away from the truck and trail for 2 to 3 days on the trail.
Yeah, good question. So those tires are tough. They have a super tough sidewall. But here's what you're going to need. You need to bring a small drill, electric drill, with a small bit, like a 1/16 bit. You're also going to need to get yourself a boot sewing kit. You can order them on Amazon. It's going to have a large curve hook that almost looks like a fishing hook. And what you're going to do is, if you slice the tire really bad, you're going to drill a series of holes on either side of the slice, and you're going to sew that thing up, and then you're going to shove plugs in between there, and that will get you out. The other thing that's been really popular is the glue tread. We had some here. I don't know where that got off to, but if the gash isn't too big and you have some time, because it takes a little while for the glue tread to dry, that's a decent option. I know Kelly's on, and he's torn a tire before, and we've tried to plug it. It's once you do a sidewall, man, it is really tough. So sewing is really your best option. And you know, if you do a nice job and you get the plugs in there, you can then keep that tire as a spare, an emergency spare. I would not drive it on the road. That is just to get you off the trail. So
Kelly says he'll be there for the Real Hammers experience.
Nice. That's what I like to hear.
Jeffrey Gourley said, just wondering if you would be interested in going to Back of the Blue in Delaware. It's a cool show. You get 4 or 6 laps around the speedway, totally different from what you do.
Oh, that sounds cool. You have to send me some details on that, dates and stuff. My schedule's pretty packed, but I like new stuff too.
Kevin Cavallo asked, do you guys sell Curry Rock Jock bare axle housings?
You can buy that from us. That's not what we normally do. We normally provide the whole assembly, but that is possible. I know we've done that for other customers. Yep.
What are your thoughts on East Coast wheeling? Would you do anything different on your builds for East Coast wheeling?
Nope. Nothing. I was super happy with how everything worked while I was back there. And, you know, I know why they all run the TSLs and stuff, because the sidewalls are super thick, and the trails, because it's wet, you know, get grooved down, and roots and rocks and stuff sticking out. So the sidewalls take a beating. But, you know, other than that, I was super happy with my shock valving, my spring rates, all my torque converter, just everything about my setup I thought was perfect. Now maybe I'm just used to driving it, but I loved it. So.
What's your opinion on steering, tie rods or Heim joints?
I like Heim joints. Let me tell you this. If you ever get a chance to go to King of the Hammers, just walk down the starting line of 100 cars that can go 140 miles an hour off-road, and you're not going to find one frickin' tie rod on there. It's all going to be Heims, and they're going to be FK Heims. They're not going to be like some cheesy thing you ordered after McMaster car. Okay, you got to get the good stuff, FK.
Okay, we're caught up.
All right. Okay, so this is the river I was talking about. There's a nice waterfall when you get into the springs. The river's just flowing. It's a very peaceful, nice. A lot of the time we bring inner tubes and stuff, and you can float. The river opens up, and you can float on the river. Yeah, it's a great experience. And certainly, you know, it's all about friends, right? This is actually a bow tie before it was turned into tuxedo right here. This is Richard Garrett's vehicle, Corey Kaiser's, Daniel Hunt. This is an old picture, and Terremoto when it was yellow. So, in fact, I can tell you how old it was because we're all on Falcons. So that's like back 2014, I would say. But yeah, you're getting kind of an overview of the whole El Dorado forest, and the Rubicon is like way out where that little nub is right there. So you wheel all down through there. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you pop out up in Tahoe at the top of Cadillac, and that's pretty cool. So, all right. So I wanted to tell you guys about a couple of things that I did in preparation for this trip. You know, just I did a last minute go over on this thing in last week or so, and because I've only been back for a week. One of the things that I did was I decided to put a new clutch in. I noticed that the master cylinder for the clutch kept dropping the fluid level, so I was pretty suspicious of the slave cylinder. What I know is, you know, this Jeep is 30 plus years old, and I decided to replace the master, the slave, and the clutch all at the same time. I'm glad I did. I'll tell you why. So whoever did the clutch the last time, when they put the transmission up, they didn't use the clutch alignment tool. They just shoved the transmission in. Well, that pushed the pilot bearing back into the flywheel, and the transmission shaft was floating in the middle, and that wasted the bearing, and it was leaking all over the place. So here I thought the fluid was coming out of the clutch reservoir, right? But actually it was a transmission leak. So I was super glad that we went in there and got after that. The next thing I want to show you. Now remember, this is a budget build, right? This is not the way that I would build a vehicle. Like I'm very much, when I buy a vehicle, the first thing I I put a brand new battery in, I replace all the hoses, all the belts. You know, if the radiator looks suspicious, you know, I pull the cap, look inside. If there's any gunk at all, I replace the radiator. I'll put a new water pump, new thermostat, new clutch fan. Man, I just go through them. Because to me, the few $100 to $1,000 of stuff is not worth the hassle of ruining a trip like the Rubicon. So, yeah, I do that. Now, on this, I did not do that. Because it's the budget, and I want to show everybody, you can literally buy a pile of crap and get it through the Rubicon. I want to show you a couple things I did. So one of the things is the mounts for the radiator that hold it to the grill, the core here, were broken. So they're just soldered on. You know, this is an old school radiator, it's not plastic. So, you know, me being the clever guy I am, I just JB welded all four of them, and now the radiator is, but I have used JB weld in the middle of a motorcycle race to, you know, fix a case that had been shattered by a rock. That stuff will not let go. So the rest of this radiator will come apart before that does. So I'm confident. But it's little stuff like that, you know, that just saved, you know, several $100s. Before not, you know, having to redo the radiator right at the last minute. I also wanted to show you that I practice what I preach. Where did it go? Because I just replaced the belt. Did I throw it inside already? No. But what I did was I put the new one on, and I took the old one that was perfectly fine, or, you know, looked fine, and that now is my spare. So, oh yeah, it's in my bag right there. So then I'm checking all my fluids, topping everything off on the axles, the radiator, the power steering, the brakes, the transfer case, the transmission. Yeah, just going through everything, just topping them off, making sure it's all good. I also gave everything a visual. I did also, one of the things, I don't know if you can see it or not, way down here, is the bump stops. So originally when I got this Jeep, it didn't have any bump stops. So I had to add the bump stops today to make sure that we're not over traveling this thing. And, you know, normally if this was my main rig, I would have already redone the steering. I would have put an aftermarket, steering box and pump in here, maybe even ram assist. These are all things that I would have just normally done. But again, I'm trying to keep this at a certain budget and, really show everybody you don't have to spend a fortune. I mean, clearly this is less than a Honda Civic, that you can buy a used Honda Civic for. So, this is pretty cool.
Janet Norris says, hey Tony, Rex and Janet Norris, my grandson wants to know if you're bringing the YJ to Jeep Beach this 2024. He wants to see it and touch it. He loves hanging out with you.
Nice. They might be one of the ones that I ran into that were telling me the story about how they had a YJ on the side of the house, and after they saw me working on this, they actually, drug it out and washed it off, kind of took the cobwebs off and started working on it themselves. So hopefully that's them, and I appreciate them watching. I will definitely consider doing that. We have a double trailer, and I could drag this thing out there for sure.
Stacy Pachetta asked any recommendations for a steering gearbox, 06 TJ with 35s. Box has play in it.
Yeah. So in 03, Jeep changed to the Mercedes box, which if you talk to any of the steering companies, they're not fans of that box. What we do is we convert them back to a Saginaw style box. I've got one here. And a Saginaw style box, the way is they have this cap. So whether it's from AGR or PSC or Howe or anybody, it's going to have this cap. The one you have is solid cast. And those are the Mercedes boxes. That's the telltale sign. And you can replace it, but I would recommend you convert over to a Saginaw style box. Many of the companies offer them, and that's a great upgrade. And I, by the way, do the pump and the box. Do them both. You don't have to do ram assist right out of the gate, depending on what tire. If you're 37 or bigger, you're kidding yourself if you're not already on ram assist. So
Jamie and Jordan are both watching, and Jamie says, love that YJ.
Nice. Yeah, Jamie's a YJ fan, so he's got the growler. Yeah. And Jordan's building his.
Speaking of YJs, we have a trivia question.
Oh yeah, we do.
Do you remember what it is?
No, and where's the gift card? Let's flash that too.
It's in the case.
Oh, I think they're right here. They're right in the corner. But yes, we do. And the question was, what years?
No Googling.
No Googling. What years were the YJs manufactured? And the first one that can guess that range of years will win a $250 K&N gift card. So good luck to you guys. And I didn't particularly single out the
Jeff
YJ.
Holland got it right away.
Nice, good job.
87 to 95.
Yep. 96, there was no production of any Jeep. They were retooling for the TJ. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So one of the things I wanted everybody to know is you can also pick up an inexpensive TJ.
Do you have Jeff Holland's info?
No, but if he could message me.
Yeah, message Tony so we know how to get this to
address,
you. Yeah, your email.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. A lot of people got it, but Jeff got it immediately.
That was quick. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to show everybody, and I don't know if you can get the camera on this. Can you see right here my little picture? How well can you see that? Kinda? Could we pop this loose for a second?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Whoa. Got a knot there. There you go. Okay. So right there. Okay. Right here, everybody's Jeep should have this. That is the belt number and a diagram of how it's routed on the vehicle. Okay? Just take a Sharpie and draw it on there. That's right. Because when your belt falls off, you're going to be really lost on, you know, how to put it back on. So it just, and you can draw it right here, whatever. I'm trying to teach you guys little tricks. And by the way, everything I talk about is almost always because I've had some person on the trail that I've run across that doesn't have a spare, that doesn't know how it goes. It's hard to even help them, you know, so make sure that you're helping yourself. I did want to put a new alternator on. There's no problem with this one, but I did not. Same thing, you know, steering pump, water pump. I mean, this is all just exactly the way I got it. The only thing I added was this little Yukon air pump, and I did put a new battery. The air pump runs the lockers, the new battery, and I did some new cables too, because the old cables, when you peel back the insulation, you could see the erosion. So I get rid of that stuff. Those, again, all these are like really simple little fixes. I stay after, you know, all the filters, keeping the filters clean and stuff. I just checked the radiator level. It's perfect. Radiator cap is good. So, yeah, I mean, it's just my checklist of stuff that I go through and make sure that the vehicle is as prepared as it can be for the trip without, you know, spending a fortune, right? These are all little things you guys can do without taking it to a mechanic and them, you know, diving into it, of course. So then you can spend, you know, unlimited money. But back to, you know, the reason that a YJ is so inexpensive and easy to do is because of the leaf springs. So the YJ versus the CJ, the frame was not as strong. The frame was also more narrow, and so were the leaf springs. So when they built the YJ, the frame was beefier like the TJ frame, but still on leaf springs. So as long as you get a spring that's got the military wrap like this, it's a double, you know, so there's the main spring and then a second spring that wraps over the main spring on both ends. If you get that, then you will not get stranded out there on the trail. Because a lot of the time what happens is the eye breaks off the spring. We used to have one here because it happened to one of our guys, and man, you are dead in the water. So, and hopefully you catch it before the whole thing walks and your drive shaft punches a hole in the transfer case and rips off the brake lines. And, you know, a lot of these things, if you're going slow and, you know, catch it, you're fine. But some of these things, man, they can really leave you stranded. So you want to take your time, especially if it's somewhere you haven't been and you're a long way from home.
Daniel Rogers asked, did you do a body lift or motor mount lift on the YJ?
So I haven't done anything on this yet. For my next stage, yes, I want to do a belly up, and then I will do a body and a motor lift. Yeah, and we sell a heavy duty Curry motor mount, and that's what I'll use on there. So, yeah, good question. Because I definitely want to get rid of what I call the shovel. You know, the factory one is all formed for strength, but it just, you know, you drag it on anything and it's just filling up with dirt. So I want to get rid of the shovel and put our nice belly up skid on there.
Okay, we're all caught up on questions.
Nice. Okay, so I just want to remind everybody where I spent the money on this vehicle was re-gearing it, lockers.
What's it geared to?
This is now geared to 456, which is perfect for this size tire.
And what was it?
373 it was. So, so yeah, I did the gears. They're Yukon gears. I did the Yukon lockers. They're air lockers. I did the chromoly axle shafts. And on a YJ, the passenger side is 2-piece. I eliminated that, got rid of the vacuum disconnect, did a 1-piece. That does require that you now go to a fancier CV style front drive shaft because it's spinning all the time. So that's one more upgrade that you kind of, you know, get forced into. While I was doing all that, I also did slightly better rotors and pads from R1. So that was, they were, the factory ones were toast. So it was, just a little bit more money, and I was able to get the much nicer, R1s. Then I did the slip yoke eliminator on the transfer case. We did that on the show. And then I did the CV rear drive shaft as well, and then re-geared and put better shafts and everything in the rear along with brakes. So really all the money was spent in the driveline, fortifying the driveline. We did a little bit of money. I got the low-end VR winch from Warn. We put our basic bumpers on here. And rocker guards, you gotta, once you're gonna go off road and you're really gonna go to somewhere like the Rubicon, if you stand a chance to hit the side with rocks or trees or anything, you will just destroy the tub, and you want to protect that before you hit it. So whether it's the rockers or the corners, if you think there's a chance you're gonna hit them, you better get some protection for that before you hit them, or you'll never be able to get the protection to get on there quite right. So fenders, these things are throwaways. So
Rick Turner said, just want to say thank you, Tony, for doing this. I don't know of any other custom manufacturer that does this. So helpful, and I've learned so much. Just wanted to say thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you appreciate it.
And Craig Huffman asked, what's the width on the springs? 2.5 inch?
2.5, yeah. And when you buy something nice like the BDS, it's going to come with the urethane bushings, and these are also greasable shafts. So all of that makes the suspension work a lot better.
Are you still running the stock fuel pump?
No. I changed to an in-tank fuel pump when I put our tank in. So because this has the Howell system, it had an external fuel pump, but I put the in-tank one in, because if this had come with factory fuel injection, it would have had the in-tank pump. So I always give people that option. Even if you wanted to go to a V8 or some other engine, you're going to want that in-tank pump. That's definitely the way to go. And by the way, you can buy those for $150 at almost any auto parts store. So pretty easy. Let's see, I was going to tell you guys what else I'm bringing as spares. I'm going to bring a spare hub. I'm going to bring some tubing, to kind of patch things if I need to. Of course, I'm going to have lots of tools and straps and pieces of chain and all kinds of stuff that if I really get in a bad spot, I'll be able to get myself off the trail. So it's going to be an adventure. I know that for sure. So what other questions you got?
Sam Walker said, thanks for being on. Great show. Glad to be on again. Have fun on the con. Looking forward to your recap.
Cool. Hopefully I see you out at Trail Hero, Sam.
And then we're all caught up.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I appreciate everybody watching. We'll be back next Wednesday, and you'll get a full recap of how it all went and what we found and how we succeeded or didn't. So thanks again, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next Wednesday.